Here we are on Nantucket Island. This is our 31st year of the American Burying Beetle Reintroduction Program. So this year we're just about to set our traps to begin to monitor the population for abundance and distribution across the island. So follow us and we'll show you how the trap system goes. It's a pretty simple method, pitfall trapping. Very simple. We're going to use a mason jar, wide mouth, baited with a bait cup so that beetles can't actually get into the bait, but it attracts a moist sponge to provide moisture. With a screen just for the marauding crows and other scavengers that might want to steal our bait. Will cover shields from sun and rain. Here we have our first pitfall trap at one of our sites. We're about to check to see if we have captured any American burying beetles. And we see some other species in here as well. We catch 4 or 5 different species. Got some necrophilia. And we do have some ABBs. A lot of them. This is what we're after. The American burying beetle. Here we have a recaptured male. So this was actually a male that we marked back in August of 2024. We like to see those. Here we have a uncaptured male. So this is a new beetle that we have not had our hands on. New female. Go ABB!
Hi, I'm Jim. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about a pleasant evening last August in Cranston. I was relaxing on the patio when I realized there was a curious noise coming from the garden. And as usual for me, my curiosity got the better of me. I had to know what it was. As it turned out, I found a little bug called the handsome Trig. Now, the handsome Trig is the common name for the red-headed bush cricket. As you can see, it has a striking red head and thorax, a black abdomen, and pale legs. It has cricket wings. You notice the left wing is clear with a black outline and the right wing is all black. It's about 7 to 9 millimeters long and is found in the eastern U.S. from New Hampshire to northern Florida. The song is described as a rattling broken trill. It's pitched about 7 kilohertz, which is thought extremely loud for such a tiny insect. A male often sings from perch where 2 leaves are close together, making a chambered stage for his performance, which helps to project his sound to attract a female. Now he holds his wings nearly straight up and rubs them together to produce the trill. When the female is persuaded by his song, the male begins the courtship, and he presents the female with the nuptial gift of a spermatophore. If the gift is accepted, the female will deposit eggs on the trunks of trees.
Our backyard bird habitat has taken 17 years. We still have not gotten our video production completely right, but there is a joy in noticing incremental improvements through ample learning experiences. Previous Rhode Island nature video festivals have educated us about insect population crashes as a concern for bird populations. As a result, we have paid attention to the numbers of insects in our garden as a useful metric. 2025 seemed to explode with the number of insects that were present in our backyard, to the point of our gardening attire becoming a bit more sophisticated. The reward has been a constant and record variety of species who come to us as daily visitors to our feeders. Woodpeckers have become more regular as we have focused on their favorite nourishment. Various suets attract them reliably. Once we got addicted to the spring calls of Carolina wrens, we paid attention to their preferences and seem to have met them well enough to get them to stick around. They prefer mealworms and black thistle seeds. 2 juvenile red-tailed hawks visited our neighborhood in northwest Providence often this year, and occasionally could be seen watching our yard. We have various species of sparrow that eat everything. A pair of tufted titmouse flit back and forth to the feeders, but one stopped for a bit for us during a light snowfall. No one helps us transition our lives to winter better than the juncos. We had 12 spend last winter with us, and have 6 with us so far this winter. They seem more willing to hang out in the trees this year, but typically they are kicking about on the ground to uncover food. House wrens used the chickadee birdhouse that chickadees had used the previous 4 years to fledge 3 successful nests. They did not stay around. We love chickadees as much as any species because of their precious songs and behaviors. We assume they will return to building nests in that birdhouse, as they would have started well before those wrens had they wanted a nest in there. Both chickadees and cardinals are very comfortable in our backyard. They seem to respect each other in a way that acknowledges familiarity. Woodpeckers began dominating the winter scene in our backyard. They hang around at the feeders longer than other songbirds. We host quite a few finches during winter, a northern flock of goldfinch and resident house finch, of which this one is surprisingly red for winter. The smaller birds all spend time at our safflower feeder, sparrows and Carolina wrens included. A pair of white-breasted nuthatches come often and seem to like the same time of day as tufted titmouse. Red-bellied woodpecker come daily this winter, along with the northern flickers. We have fallen in love with one particular pair of downy woodpeckers, who seem to be around every day, all day. The female here is adorable. She is very active and gives off an aura of industrious intent. The male's red marking on the back of his head distinguishes him from the female. It's the kind of marking that we use lipstick for, to mark one of our 2 cats when they were identical in appearance as kittens, but we didn't have that bright of a shade. The northern flickers come every day and can be seen as the first light reaches over our house to bask our ornamental cherry tree. The northern flicker visitations have grown consistently over the last 3 years. 2 of them came together to introduce us to a couple of juveniles who we assume are their offspring. The coordination between adults and the coordination between the juveniles suggested they were all comfortable and concerned about everyone getting the nourishment they need. We have not seen much territorial negotiating between adults ever, as it seemed various would come to feed less consistently in the past. They will announce themselves with a distinctive call on occasion, but the volume they use doesn't rise to match other birds that are warning others about their intent. All 5 of the northern flickers can be seen at once, occasionally, as documented from one frame of video here. Mourning doves also like to sit in the tree at dawn. They are so serene and make great eye contact with us. The doves have ranged in numbers as high as 20 in previous years, and it can be seen every day of the year. Their numbers increase at our feeders during bad weather stretches when we suspect other food sources are less available. Back to the blue jays. They provide great color and behavior when they work as a team of up to 5 at once. But speaking of color, there's no more colorful bird than male cardinals when we have snow cover. They don't stay in one place very long in winter and are quiet compared to the rest of the year. We've had cardinals in the backyard since before we started creating a garden for them. They find other things to eat. Their mates are often nearby and exhibit very similar behaviors that suggest they make comfortable teams that know their routine well. As a result, we know their routines well too, and look forward to it daily. We have always been impressed by the bright red of the males, but over time we have found the coloring of the females to be equally spectacular. They come at dawn and dusk reliably, so it feels like we can summon them with our minds at those hours. They come when other birds are not around and prefer to watch us and not compete when other bird activity is high. One last check-in on the chickadees as we finish up documenting the winter assortment for this winter. We've been very lucky to have young squirrels who behave well with the birds compared to some other years when older squirrels were disruptive. As a result, we watch them feed at the feeders occasionally and end with one here.
That's what happened. We don't need all of them. Okay. You gotta count those.
I just throw them back in the water?
Yeah, that's the big silver one. Silver size. You toss back.
Yeah.
We got 2 cunners.
And it looks like we didn't get too much else yet. So they're going to try a couple more areas and another couple passes and see if we can catch some more.
There's silver size and there was like alewife up there.
You don't normally see any Fowler's toads until breeding season starts, but for some reason this year, right at the end of March, one came out and I saw it in a field not far from the pond. I didn't see any again until breeding season started more than a month later. When it turns about 60 degrees at night, the Fowler's toads come out. Amphibians almost always breed at night, probably to reduce predation by mammalian predators and avian predators. And it's a sonic experience. I mean, the level of noise is just amazing, and it goes for hours and hours. The white line on the back of the toad is very diagnostic, at least in eastern North America, of Fowler's toads. About 2 weeks after breeding season started, you start seeing tadpoles. I don't usually see the eggs, and I didn't see any this year. They're on the bottom of the pond. And so they're starting to hatch, and they will keep hatching, and we will see more and more of them. Though they never get real thick. And you know, the more I think about it, they have very limited habitat in the pond. They need really shallow shelves that they can sit in sun on. But, you know, there was the 16th and 19th, and we'll go up. And what's really cool is you get to watch them develop, and you'll see all the different stages of them developing here. And then you start getting tadpoles turning into toadlets. The toadlets start coming out about the middle of June and continue right through the beginning of July. It was a cloudy spring, so, you know, it was hard to get pictures, but as the weather got better later in the spring, you got more sunshine, you got much better pictures. And you can really tell. I mean, look at this. It's compared to the other one. And so, you know, you try to go on sunny days to get the best pictures, and you can start to zoom in a little more and get more detail. You know, these guys are tiny. The main body is like less than 1/4 of an inch at this stage. The big ones get bigger every day, and then there's new little ones, and you'll see various times where there's like some big ones and some little ones, and eventually they start getting legs, and you can see all that kind of development. But mostly what tadpoles do is they hang out on leaves or other substrate and wriggle themselves along and scrape food like that. And then the rest of the time they lie in the sun so they can be warm and digest their food faster so they can grow faster. Toad tadpoles are habitat limited because they need the shallow shelves and the flat substrates for feeding and for resting and for warming and digesting. And then they also are so slow that they're vulnerable to predation, but they seem to end up being available prior to the bullfrogs transforming from tadpoles to bullfrogs and, you know, populating. And they're inshore from the sunfish. Note in this picture and this one that you've got little tadpoles next to big tadpoles. Another sign of the long breeding season is you found an adult toad by the pond on June 6th. The tadpoles seem to have no social awareness. They bang into each other randomly and bounce off. The little worms in there sometimes touch the tadpoles and set them moving too. From this point on, more and more of the tadpoles have legs, and you can see the legs develop until they become muscular, and then, the front legs come out in like a very quick burst right at the end as they're about to become toadlets. The legs come out through the gill slits, and so you have to get rid of the gills in order for the front legs to come out. It has to be simultaneous, and then you've got toadlets. Those legs are almost full grown. The front legs will pop out any day now. Tadpoles normally scrape food off of a substrate, but here on these kinds of plants they seem to eat the whole plant, and they've stripped these bare pretty well. On June 20th we got the first of the little toadlets. They are just so cute, but they are so fast and they are so cryptic that I spend several weeks trying to get video and get hardly any good shots of them. And look how well they blend in with the mud and the substrate in the neighborhood that they're living in. Once they get out of the mud, they actually look like toads, only they don't have much of a back line, but that's pretty much the color of them the first year. Even though we're seeing all the toadlets, if you look in the pond, there's still tadpoles and in various stages of development. They're not like immediately coming out. On July 9th, there were no more tadpoles, and this is the last of the toadlets I saw. And about a month later, in mid-August, one of the little toadlets came back, and I saw it. But it was 3 times the size of what it was a month, the ones in July. So clearly they're eating and they're growing, and hopefully we'll see them next spring.
Bye.